Modern culture tells us to move on quickly and act like nothing happened. But what if that calm exterior is just emotional numbness, and the people who left you are actually thinking about you nonstop in silence? We glorify independence and detachment, but here's the paradox. In today's world, the very ones who run from connection often end up haunted by the memories they tried hardest to bury. So is detachment strength, or is it fear in disguise? Society says time heals all wounds, yet neuroscience shows suppressed emotions always resurface. So maybe the avoidant who walked away hasn't moved on at all. They're just fighting a battle against their own nervous system. Welcome to StoicCraft, the place where timeless Stoic wisdom meets modern psychology. Here we strip away illusions, confront uncomfortable truths, and show you how to protect your peace and master emotional intelligence in a world full of manipulation and noise. Here's a hard truth we don't often admit. The very person who left you feeling abandoned, dismissed, or too sensitive may actually think about you far more than you realize. Yet they'll almost never say it. Why? Because modern culture glorifies independence and emotional detachment. We applaud those who move on quickly, those who act unbothered, as if longing or missing someone is weakness. But behind that composed, unreadable mask is something avoidantly attached people rarely confess. They miss you, deeply, confusingly, silently. You may be lying awake wondering, how could they be so cold? Did I even matter? Was it all in my head? What you don't see is that somewhere they are also haunted by a song, a smell, a fleeting memory, and they don't know why. This isn't just emotion, it's neuroscience. It's the nervous system trapped in survival mode. Emotional avoidance masquerading as composure. Avoidant people don't forget. They remember everything but in distorted ways. Avoidance doesn't mean they never loved you. It means they loved in a way that was suppressed, muffled, almost like standing at the edge of a cliff, not because they didn't want to jump, but because no one ever taught them how to swim. They aren't running from you, they're running from themselves, from the vulnerable, tender, connection-seeking parts of their own psyche. That's why, when a relationship ends, they don't rage or beg. They freeze. Their face goes blank, their mood flat. From the outside, it looks like they're fine. But while you're lying awake replaying every detail, they too are unraveling. Only in silence, because in their world, emotion isn't allowed in the open. From childhood, they learned that feelings equal danger, that needing others equals weakness. So they trained themselves to flee their own heart. You leave, they go silent. You send a final message, they never reply. You crave closure, but they meet you with a wall. That silence isn't proof they feel nothing. It's proof they don't know how to feel. They never developed the language or the tools. And then just when they believe the chapter is closed while driving, clipping their nails, or working late, there you are. A smell, a song, a pair of shoes. Suddenly something ruptures inside them. It startles them, confuses them. But they won't tell anyone, because this is how avoidants survive. By pretending nothing is happening, their minds work in fragments. They push emotions into inner storage, away from conscious reach. But suppression doesn't erase. What's buried always returns, slipping back through the cracks as an intrusive thought. Why do I still remember that night? Why did I dream of her again? Why does this new person's laugh leave me cold? These are the cracks in the armor, the places where suppressed feelings leak through. Because here's the truth. Avoidants don't really move on. They disconnect from their feelings and call that moving on. But you weren't a theory. You weren't a passing phase. You were the person who, for a moment, made them feel safe enough to be soft. And that terrified them. So they withdrew. Yet even in withdrawal, triggers attack unexpectedly. A familiar bag in a crowd, a stranger's laugh, and their nervous system jolts awake, confused by the sudden ache in their chest. Avoidance doesn't mean they don't think of you. It means they think in ways even they don't recognize. The first trigger? False progress. They block you, hit the gym, fill their calendar, change their style. Outwardly, it looks like they've moved on. Inwardly, nothing has shifted. Psychologists call this delayed grief. Grief that was postponed, packed away, only to return later in fragmented, disruptive bursts. Because you can't heal by burying pain in a locked mental basement. You can't force recovery by distraction. Every closed door eventually bursts open. For avoidance, the inner world runs on suppression. And when that grip is broken, a song from your old cafe, your name in passing, it's like something cracks. No tears, no sobbing, just a flood of memories they can't explain. Anxiety out of nowhere, sleepless nights, or simply an uncheckable thought of you they don't understand. Because in the avoidant mind, feelings don't travel in straight lines. They arrive sideways, irrationally, often long after they believe they've moved on. Here's the paradox about avoidant people. The moment they look the most stable is often when they're most at risk of being triggered. That appearance of calm isn't real healing, it's emotional numbness. And the nervous system isn't designed to stay numb forever. Eventually, it cracks open and demands to feel. So the questions begin. If I'm really over her, why do I still remember that night so vividly? If I'm fine, why did her eyes in that dream make me feel like I couldn't breathe? Why do I keep hearing her voice asking me not to leave her? Alone? You can't measure someone's healing by how calm they look, especially an avoidant, because calm, for them, is just a mask. And behind that mask lies a glacier of frozen emotions, waiting for the right memory to thaw it. This is what unsettles avoidance the most. They thought you were just a phase, a brief detour, something they could neatly fold away and lock in a drawer. But then you changed. You stepped out of that old version of yourself. You became happy, maybe even with someone completely unlike them. And that's when their carefully built story begins to crack. The second trigger is mirror image disruption. An avoidant might scoff at your new partner. He's nothing like me, smiles too much, probably journals. On the surface, it sounds like jealousy. In reality, it's the collapse of the self-protective narrative they used to justify walking away. For an avoidant to leave a relationship they once felt something in, they need a reason. Usually, it's a reason they invent. We were too different. She was too much. I needed someone quieter. These aren't just explanations, they're life rafts to protect themselves from guilt or shame. But then they see you thriving with someone open, expressive, emotionally grounded. And suddenly, their defenses short-circuit. You become a mirror, and the reflection no longer matches the story they've been telling themselves. If she needed someone less intense, why is she glowing now with someone more alive, more emotionally available? Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I left something real because I was scared. And ironically, in the avoidance mind, you're no longer just an ex. You become a living comparison, not between you and their new partner, but between who they were with you and who they are now without you. Maybe a mutual friend mentions how different you were when you were together, softer, more open. Or maybe they remember your eyes that last time, not angry, just quietly sad. And that sadness, calm, unblaming, is what haunts them most. This is the essence of cognitive dissonance, the mental discomfort that comes when their inner belief, we weren't right for each other, collides with the evidence. She's happier without me. Avoidants aren't equipped to handle this well. They don't admit fault easily, and they definitely don't sit with regret. So instead of reaching out, they retreat into silence while their mind runs on repeat . And that's when you show up, without actually showing up, not through a message, not through a post, but in the background of a cafe song, in the faint smell of your old detergent, in the way a chair creaks under someone else, just like when you sat there. You're absent, and yet, somehow, you're everywhere . If the second trigger strikes their carefully built story, the third bypasses thought altogether. Emotional home invasion. It isn't a conscious memory. It's a sudden visceral state. They're folding laundry, doing dishes, or walking through a quiet room, and suddenly something feels missing. It's not sadness they can name. It's not a clear, I miss her. It's a ghost emotion, a hijack of their nervous system that logic cannot explain. Avoidants are used to controlling feelings, intellectualizing them. But this time their logic can't keep up. This is where sensory memory and body memory quietly take over. It doesn't live in words, it lives in routines and reflexes, in the atmosphere of daily life. They catch a scent of bread outside a bakery and are thrown back to breakfasts with you. They make coffee absent-mindedly the way you liked it. These aren't memories they summon, they're memories that summon them. And the irony is, these small unspoken triggers are the ones that pierce every defense. Because you don't have to be present for them to remember you. Their body remembers for them. Their environment remembers for them. Their body remembers for them. The air around them remembers for them. Their nervous system, once frozen in survival mode, begins to thaw, not by effort, but by the tiniest of details that only matter because they're tied to you. And they don't understand why. On a perfectly ordinary day with no clear trigger, a wave of emptiness floods their chest, like a ghost knocking on a door they thought was sealed shut. They don't talk about it. They can't even put it into words. But they feel it a quiet obsession few people will ever notice. Not from a photo, not from an old familiar place, but from a message they never had the courage to send. A long text typed at 1 a.m. erased, rewritten, erased again. Yet in their mind, that message never died. Every word, every comma lives on, as though not sending it is what keeps the emotion alive longer than speaking it ever could. This is Trigger 4, the unsent message. For most people, writing and not sending a text just means they changed their mind. But for an avoidant, it's an emotional battlefield. Because in the very act of typing, I miss you, I've been thinking about the last time we talked, there. knocking on the locked door of the part of themselves they've buried, the part that still feels, still grieves, still craves connection, but like an unhealed wound that stings when touched, their defenses slam shut the moment that vulnerability surfaces. A voice inside says, "Don't be weak." They won't reply. "You're overreacting. Silence is safer." This is what psychology calls an approach avoidance conflict, the war between wanting to connect and being terrified of the risk. So they never send it, but the almost sending becomes a trigger in itself. They replay the unsent message in their mind, imagine how you might have responded, rehearse the conversation that never happened, and just like that, they're caught in an emotional loop, haunted not by what was said, but by what stayed unsaid. The irony? If they had just sent it once, they might have found clarity, whether in warmth or rejection. But avoidants don't chase clarity, they chase safety. And for them, silence feels safer than risk. So they trap themselves in a loop of unresolved emotion, where the ghost of the message lingers half alive, half dead, whispering at the back of their mind. That's why, weeks or months later, you see them accidentally liking an old photo or sending a vague text. "Hey, how have you been?" It's not that they truly want to know. It's that they're still trying, in disguise, to deliver that message they never dared to send. Then comes trigger 5, the secure stranger. She's calm. She's patient. She respects space. She doesn't demand too much. Exactly the kind of partner the avoidant always claimed they wanted. You text her, she responds. You go quiet, she doesn't overreact. It's steady, predictable, low drama. It's supposed to be perfect. So why do they keep thinking about their ex? Avoidants often believe that if they could just meet the right person, someone secure, balanced, undemanding, everything would finally work. And sometimes they do meet that person. But here's the problem. Their heart doesn't react. Logically, they know this new relationship is good. Emotionally, their system flatlines. No spark. No longing. No deep pull, just calm emptiness. Dr. Nicole Lepira explains this phenomenon. People raised in chaotic or emotionally unstable environments often mistake intensity for love. For them, calm feels like boredom. Their nervous system, trained to stay hypervigilant, doesn't know what to do when it finally encounters peace. So ironically, when an avoidant finally finds the safe, steady love they always said they wanted, the very absence of conflict unsettles them. With nothing to escape, nothing to analyze, nothing to survive, they start drifting back mentally to the one place where they did feel intensity, with you. Not because you were better, but because you were familiar, even when it hurt. It was the chaos their body recognized. The truth is, most avoidants have no idea how to process love when it arrives quietly, without demands, without chaos, without needing them to perform. And so their mind begins to wander, not because the new person is wrong, but because you were the one who made them feel alive, even in the storm. So they start feeling confused, then numb, then inevitably nostalgic. It's in the quiet safety of their new relationship that the haunting begins, not because you were easier, but because with you they felt alive, even if that aliveness came with chaos and panic. You used to laugh more with them, you were softer then, and sometimes even a casual remark from a friend or sibling You were different when you were with her, happier, more open. Cuts straight through the avoidance defenses. This is trigger 6, the unexpected compliment. Not every compliment feels good, especially when it reminds someone of a version of themselves they abandoned. For avoidance, those words don't sound like flattery, they sound like a verdict. You're not like that anymore. And the truth is, they know it's true. Avoidants don't only suppress their negative emotions, they suppress the best parts of themselves too. When they walk away from someone they cared for, they don't just leave the relationship behind. They often leave behind the version of themselves that could be soft, connected, vulnerable. So when someone says, "You were brighter, more alive back then," it hits deeper than anyone realizes. It cracks the illusion they've built of being completely self-sufficient. Because if they were better when they were with you, then the loss isn't just about you, it's about a piece of themselves they left behind. And from that point on, questions haunt them. Did I lose the best version of myself? Can I ever find that version again without going back? Or was I only that person because they were in my life? This is where avoidants wrestle with their deepest fear, the possibility that they might actually need others to become whole. Their identity is built on independence, control, and detachment. But a simple, honest compliment can shatter that belief system. And so even if they never say a word, regret quietly lingers, not always because they want to come back, but because they became someone with you they never thought they could be. That's why avoidants don't forget you, not because you were the one exception, but because you were the emotional experience their nervous system never fully processed. Their silence isn't indifference, it's survival. The avoidant brain is wired to avoid not only emotions, but the memories tied to those emotions. If they don't touch it, they don't hurt. If they don't name it, they don't have to face it. But avoidance isn't resolution, because the moments you shared, the looks, the laughter, the words spoken in vulnerability, aren't erased by logic. They're stored in their brain's memory systems, in the hippocampus, in procedural memory, in the small routines, and even in restless dreams. And because they never fully felt what happened between you, it remains unfinished, like a loop still open, buzzing in the background of their mind. Avoidance can't truly face you because to face you would mean facing the version of themselves that existed with you, the part that loved, the part that softened, the part that longed for closeness, the part they abandoned, not because you were wrong, but because they weren't ready for who they were becoming in your presence. So the next time you wonder, do they ever think about me? Know this, that question doesn't live only in your mind. It quietly lives in theirs too. And even if they never return, even if they never admit it, one truth remains. You were the one who awakened a part of them they weren't ready to meet. If this message resonates with you, share your perspective. Do you believe people who avoid emotions ever truly forget the ones they left behind? Or dive deeper into our playlist on emotional boundaries and stoic resilience, because learning to guard your peace isn't weakness, it's the highest form of wisdom.